The key to confidence starts with action.
Okay, so this is probably the best thing that I learned last year, and it's from Alex Hormozi. He says, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. That to me is like such a mic drop. That's money. That's what I do my podcast for, to hear people say things like that. And I was chronically unconfident for a long time in my 20s as somebody that was standing in the front door of a nightclub, that was a male model, that did 2 reality TV shows, but I was very performative with the way that I was doing this stuff because inside I still didn't have that genuine rock hard sense of something to be confident about. And I always wondered about why other people had confidence, and I presumed that it was a mindset thing. And what I have come to believe is that it's because I hadn't created a stack of work that I genuinely felt existentially connected to and was proud of. I loved the work that I did with my nightclub business, but there was always so many degrees of freedom between the success of the business and me and my inputs. Oh, it's because of market conditions. Oh, it's because of how effective all of the managers are. Oh, it's because all of our competitors went away. And this is one of the beautiful things about any individual pursuit, especially where you've got immediate feedback. It's why sports stars and athletes, although it's in some ways a very difficult existence, it's a great existence as well because they can see the fruits of their labor immediately. You spend an amazing off-season building up your strength, you crush it next year. So for me, Rogan calls it building a mountain with layers of paint, right? One layer of paint at a time. And you go, what's a layer of paint? It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. But after thousands of iterations of this, you end up with a really big-sized mountain. And that, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt. Just encapsulates that perfectly. And the key to confidence starts with action for me is rejigging your mental state to be like, right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be positive. Cool, like that's not a bad thing, and more power to you. But reality is going to come and smash you in the face. You're going to be, if you want confidence without competence, you want delusion. And if you want competence without confidence, you want fantasy. So it's like, look, those things need to grow together. In my opinion, it is much easier to do a thing, start doing it, do it well, and then go, okay, after a while, your old imposter syndrome has no choice but to be eroded by this mountain of evidence that you've got. And that for me was the easiest way that I built up my confidence.
I enjoy always talking to you because a lot of these ideas start to intertwine. And I read a lot of books, and there's things that I will read in one book that I'll see in another, and then in another, and another. And they usually come from different walks of life. It's very similar with the podcast. When you talk to a lot of different people, you start to see these commonalities. And this idea of the key to confidence starts with action is almost perfectly overlaid with almost every book you read from someone who is successful at something. There is a theme of practice, whether they knew they were practicing or not. And so confidence comes from the ability to know, I've done this before,
yes,
right? And I can keep doing it. And like maybe you start out and you're like, I suck at this. And that's kind of the first couple layers of paint. And then eventually it's like, okay, well, I'm better than I was, but I still suck. Mm-hmm. And eventually you're like, hey, I'm not half bad. And then like maybe you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'll like show somebody else what I can do.
Yeah.
Right? And then you build that confidence, which really came again from that action.
There's a quote from Seth Godin that he said on my show, and he said, a lot of the time you need support, but only the first time around. And his point there was that when you're starting out with something, you haven't done it before. How do you expect to be confident at something you've literally never done before? You have no evidence. And this is where the lone wolf, super Chad, alpha guy going and Lone Rangering it on his own doesn't really work too well if you're starting out. It's all well and good if you've gained mastery in some domain and have a huge audience and loads of people like you and stuff, and then you say, right, I'm going to stick my middle finger up at all of these people, I'm going my own way. You can't do that when you're starting out because you need the support of people around you just to get over the hump of how hard becoming good at anything is. So yeah, you need support the first time around, lean more heavily on your social circles, and then as you become better and better, you can actually refine it a bit more.